forgot we're rolling. So if you
Are we rolling? Oh, man.
Oh, we got the headphones?
Got the headphones too, bro.
Nice.
Okay. That's it. That's our beginning right there. Yeah. Justin, thank you for coming, man. This is awesome.
Yeah, Mike, man. It's a pleasure and an honor to be, a guest on your show. I'm happy to see you. It's been a while. I mean, the last time we were together, Millikan High School, you were our strength coach, and here we are now.
Here we are now, man. And it's been a road over the last few years for you. I mean, you've kind of made some rounds and really, truly, freaking big circle, came back home. In coaching for me, that's kind of how it is for a lot of coaches. It seems like they're in one spot, then you see them taking another position, or the head coach is let go and they have to look for a new home. And so, I would like to, where I'm at now, Lakewood High School, I'd like to build a foundation, and I see myself being at Lakewood long term. Yeah, I do too, because that's your alma mater, isn't it?
Yes, Lakewood Lancers. We met at the rival high school.
And then you participated in beating your. that had to be a sweater beat, bittersweet.
Yes, fun times. Being on both sides of the rivalry was great. It's funny seeing the trophy that we play for. It's called the Hamilton Trophy. And you see it's like Lakewood, a lot of Lakewood. And you see those couple years we were at Millikan together. And, they currently have it now, but it's our goal to get it back.
Millikan still has it.
Yes. Yeah. They actually won our last game this past season. And so, we'll see them again next year, and it'll be another opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's one of the nice things about, the schools and the competition. It's been years of building the rivalry.
Definitely. Yeah. And people don't know it's, the battle of the blueprint, because when I was on Millikan's campus, it looks just like Lakewood. Right. They were built along the same blueprint, just different colors.
Well, let's start out with, first of all, your journey. Because like we said, you did go to Lakewood. That's your alma mater. How long when did you start playing ball? Because you playing ball is the path to where you're at today, coaching.
Right.
When did you start? How young were you?
Yes. So growing up in my family, my dad played rugby. He never played football. Mm-hmm. My parents didn't have the money to put me in Pop Warner because it cost around $300 or so for uniforms, equipment. And so my parents were never big on pushing me to play football. So I grew up in the Long Beach, Lakewood area. I would just play at the local parks for free. I'd play flag football, and then I would go and play rugby as well with just my family and friends, just at the park or anytime we get together with my family. So that was where the physical side of things came for me and my experience early on. I think I was about 9 or 10 when I started playing flag football. People don't know the first time I actually put pads on was my freshman year at Lakewood High School.
Was it really?
Yes. So, and people are like, wow,
that surprises me. Yeah.
How were you able to kind of pick it up so fast? And like I mentioned, playing rugby growing up with my family kind of helped teach me how to tackle the right way. Because that's the biggest thing in Pop Warner, I think, is just teaching them the proper technique and fundamentals, but especially how to tackle safely. Mm-hmm. And so that's just, my little story of growing up playing football. It all started with flag football, which is great because, you still have to take the right angles to get the flag and things like that. And so, and it's still great competition for sure.
I would think that almost that rugby played a bigger role in that because, that's, you're manning up out there. You've got
no equipment,
and you're hitting and you're playing hard.
Yes, and it's fast paced. It's just nonstop. In football, you kind of slow it down, take it one possession at a time. But in rugby, what I really like is one moment you're on defense, the very next you're on offense, running the ball.
Yeah, And so, yeah, and then that kind of helped prepare me for my high school career at Lakewood High School. Was my home. It was my home school, and I just always knew that I would go there with my neighborhood buddies, and we would try and build something there. And I think our head coach at the time, Thad McNeil, he did a great job during his time at Lakewood High School, and a lot of the things that I learned as a player at Lakewood, I'm using now as the current head coach there.
So when you first started playing actual football with equipment, and you're a freshman, did it appear to you at that time that you had special qualities that maybe others maybe didn't have, because your career went places that most people don't get an opportunity to do?
Yes, when I first put the pads on, I fell in love with the game right away. The physicality, being on a team, playing for the guys next to me. I quickly fell in love with the game of football. And honestly, my coaches in high school did a great job keeping us humble, because you wouldn't know you were doing anything good at practice or in the games, because our coaches never really praised us. They always try to keep us real humble. And that was their way of motivating us that, hey, you're not as good as you think you are. And so you just got to keep putting in work. And so I didn't really realize, how good of a football player I was until I started getting attention from colleges. And my head coach at the time, he did a good job getting our names out to his college connections. And so all it took was for one school to offer me, and other schools came and visited. And that's just kind of what you see now, but more so because of social media. It wasn't as big as it was now, or as it is now. And so as soon as a college sees a kid post that they were offered by a college, a bunch of other colleges want to jump on and offer that same kid. So I guess I didn't really know how good of a football player I was, and I still don't really think I was that good of a football player, but I was just blessed and fortunate enough to receive scholarships, and I decided to take my career to the University of Notre Dame, and it was one of the best decisions of my life.
Oh yeah, that now when you're still in high school, when did they start coming out? Was that your junior year? Or did they wait till the senior year? When was it that they started coming out and noticing you?
Yes, so Lakewood High School, we were sending our student athletes to college from when I was a freshman all the way to when I was a senior. So colleges were coming and recruiting our players. When I was a freshman, our seniors and juniors and sophomores were getting looks. It wasn't until after my sophomore year that I started getting that attention from colleges, pulling me to the side, coming to practice to watch me and my teammates. And it helped that we had a blue chip quarterback. Our quarterback was one of the best in the country, was highly recruited, went to the Elite 11, played in the Under Armour All-American game. His name's Jesse Scroggins. He went to USC. So it helps when your teammates are highly recruited, because that brings more coaches and attention to the program.
Yeah, yeah. So when you're being recruited like that, did you find it as a distraction? Did you find it as, or did you find it more motivating?
You know what? There was times where I didn't even know a school offered me. My head coach would just say, "Hey, this school, they offered you. They really like you." And then there was times I'd walk into my head coach's office and I'd just see it on the whiteboard that a school just offered me, because our coach would keep track on the whiteboard. Mm-hmm. Like, wow. So there's times where I didn't even know. I was like, wow, I didn't even talk to any of the coaches. But I mentioned already, social media, Instagram, Twitter wasn't really, big during my time in high school. I didn't have an Instagram or Twitter.
Right.
And so I guess for me, I think if I started a Twitter or Instagram a while ago, I'd probably have a check next to my name or something. I started late. I should have started earlier.
So when you were a senior, what colleges were coming after you?
So mostly the Pac-10 at the time, the Pac-10 now Pac-12. Mostly the West Coast schools, and then the University of Notre Dame.
they came out and saw me a couple times. Coach Brian Polian was my main recruiter. He's actually at LSU now. And yeah, they'd come watch me in the weight room, watch me at practice. They really liked my film, and so they offered me. And out of all the schools that offered me, I sat down with my family and my head coach, and there was just nothing. There was no bad things to say about Notre Dame.
Oh no,
there was no negatives. There was no cons, and we went down the list of all the schools, and it just Notre Dame just kept it stood out amongst the other colleges. And so, yeah, I prayed on it, and my family, we felt that was the best place for me.
That's just an amazing story. And the opportunity to walk onto the field at Notre Dame, I mean, I can't even imagine what that felt like the very first time.
Yeah, it's unreal. You know, words can't describe it. You just have to be there to kind of feel that special, the specialness of campus and stepping foot on the field. And it was funny because I was at Notre Dame my first few years. It was grass, and now it's turf. So I was able to play on the grass and as well on the turf now.
Yeah, that's amazing. But kind of explain what it's like at that level to be in practice, not even playing in the games, not even just the practices alone. Because I mean, you go from, and I'm sure that the coaches at Lakewood did an amazing job in with what they had to work with, and that's as far as, you know, weight rooms, equipment, the field, you know. But to go to Notre Dame or someplace like Notre Dame and see the training program and the planning and everything, it has to be unbelievable.
It's unbelievable. It's truly a full-time job, from waking up at 5 a.m. to be at 6 a.m. workouts, then to go to class, come back for lunch, for meetings, practice, showering up, watching film, eating. Then you got to go to mandatory study hall and then do it all over again. And you know, practice, you're on the field with some of the best players in the country. Everyone's good.
Yeah.
So every practice felt like a game. And so, you know, football is one of those sports where you practice more than you play. And being at the University of Notre Dame, you know, we were constantly pushing one another, competing against the best. And that's why a program like the University of Notre Dame is as good as they are now, constantly competing to get in that college football playoff spot, the four. And I strongly believe that, you know, this year is their year.
This is it.
Like I feel every year.
I was going to say, was there a year that you didn't feel that way?
No, and when I was there, it was a great experience playing for a national championship against Alabama. It didn't go our way, but like I said, Notre Dame, you know, recruits some of the best players in the country, and not so much just what we're doing on the field, the players they're recruiting, but the people that they recruit. You know, the Notre Dame guy that they're looking for, someone who's you know, doing their thing and a standout in the classroom as well, a standout in the community, and a locker room guy. Those are kind of the traits that, you know, the coaches at Notre Dame, and that's what Notre Dame's all about. So that's who they're looking for.
Yeah. What was it like putting on that uniform?
Man, I don't know. It's hard to describe, because it seemed like when you're there and you're kind of just enjoying every single moment. I'm all about being in the moment. So just whether it was a practice uniform, whether I was just putting, you know, getting ready to go out there on a Tuesday, or Saturdays, we're playing for a big game, we're playing prime time. Every moment was special, because you just never know when it's going to be your last snap. You never know. You know, the game of football, guys are constantly going down, getting hurt, or you know, for me, my last game at the University of Notre Dame, I didn't know it was going to be my very last time strapping it up. So I really was just, you know, I was all in every time I put that jersey on.
Right.
And it was just always a special moment for me.
Yeah. See, that's one of the cool things about having a podcast is I get to sit here and I get to ask these silly ass questions that nobody else out in the real world is going to sit down with a beer and ask you, what was it like? You know, but really and truly, those are the things that the common guy out there, you know, they look at those guys with reverence. You know, when they're watching them on it's you met my son Matt and my little grandson, you know,
right.
You signed the jersey or something that he had, and it's like that when you get normal people that are watching Notre Dame that are just dying and maybe have never even stepped a foot on campus, but there's something about, you know, Notre Dame and just, you know, so they're going to look at the guys that are actually out there and playing and being a part of it and going to the practices and going to, you know, playing in the games. There's a certain awe, there's a certain reverence that goes along with that, man.
Absolutely. And one thing I love about, you know, you said, how did it feel putting on the Notre Dame jersey? Our last names weren't on the back. You know, it wasn't about the name on the back, but who we were representing. And we're playing for something bigger than ourselves at the University of Notre Dame. And we all had that same understanding and respect for the University of Notre Dame and everything it stands for. And that's why we were able to go out there every single day, whether it was practice or a game, and just give it our all. I mean, Notre Dame breaks you down, but they build you back to be even better than you were the day before.
Yeah, because, you know, that's really a good point, too, where you go there and you're playing for the school. You're playing for the name. You're playing, you know, for the history right there. Because you think about the great players that have passed through. Right.
And I played with some really good, tremendous players that are still playing in the NFL right now. And I'm just happy to see even some of my teammates that I've graduated with, you know, in the workforce, you know, starting families and seeing them as fathers now and coaches at the high school, college level. That's one thing I really love to see now with my former teammates is, you know, what are we doing after football and seeing all the success. And Notre Dame helps set us up for that because of all the things that we learned during our time there.
Yeah. You know, of everything that you experienced there at the school, not even just, you know, playing the sports and being a part of the program, but just being a student at Notre Dame. What'd you walk away with? What is your, if you had to say this is the one thing that has stuck with me, this is my one takeaway, what would it be?
There's no such thing as an indispensable man. I mean, it's just competition. I mean, when you walk into the classroom, you're around some of the brightest people in the country. When you're even just in line in the dining hall, and it's a competition to get in line. It's so competitive there on campus. On the field in the locker room with, you know, all the great talent that they recruit at Notre Dame. If you slack off, if you feel like you've arrived, if you feel like, hey, I'm that guy, you know, I'm been there, done that, you're gonna get replaced real quick. And so that's one thing Notre Dame taught me was you have to constantly work at your craft, every single day, because there's someone out there waiting to take your spot, and that will take your spot at the moment you slack off.
Yeah. So what was it like when you found out that was your last game?
Yeah, so, you know, it was against LSU in the bowl game. And, you know, when I was putting on my jersey for that bowl game, you know, I was thinking, oh, you know, after this game, I'm going to get ready for the NFL, begin my training. And then I did that, and, you know, I had another path. You know, the NFL wasn't for me. And so it didn't really hit me until I was back home. And I you know, I sat down with my family, and I was just like, you know, I think this is it for me. I think I'm going to, you know, go another direction. So that's my advice to all current, even seniors that I coach at the high school level, anybody playing
college football now, you just never know when it's going to be that last time you put that jersey or the shoulder pads on or that helmet on. So you just have to make the most out of every single rep, every single day, every single game with your teammates, because the game of football will be over. Yeah. And did you make the most out of your time on the field and off the field with your teammates?
Now, you played in Notre Dame, some very talented people, obviously. To even get recruited to go to the school, you've got to have above and beyond normal talent. What's the difference between really, really good scholarship, invited, playing at Notre Dame, and the guy that gets drafted into the NFL?
Yeah, so like I said, constantly working on your craft. One of the biggest takeaways for me, never taking days off, never feeling like you've arrived. I think once you get into Notre Dame, what I started to see, the guys that did go on and play in the NFL were the ones that were the last ones in the meeting room, the ones that did the little extra. I talked about 5 a.m. all the way up until 9 p.m., from waking up for morning workouts to study hall. It was always those guys that kind of stayed after mandatory study hall for that extra work with the tutors. It was always the guys, we were leaving the film room and they stayed back with the coordinators and the coaches to ask a little bit more, get a better understanding. It was always the guys that came in on our day off on Sundays for to rehab their body and put in that extra time, because even though you got into the University of Notre Dame, if you want to continue to play beyond that or just get on the field and start at the University of Notre Dame, you need to be doing a little bit more, more extra.
Yeah.
So, that's my advice. That's what I try to teach the players now that I coach is, look, we're with you 2-3 hours out of the day. It's not enough. You need to still do the extra. You need to be doing some kind of workouts on the weekends when we don't have practice. You need to stay behind after class gets out and ask those extra questions. Take advantage of all the resources that you're provided.
Yeah. So now you're graduating. You decided that your career is going to go on a different path. What was it about coaching that drew you in?
Yeah. So I knew, I put on the tie, I put on the collared shirt. I went to a couple of interviews. I tried to get into the corporate America world, and it just wasn't for me.
I'm just sitting here trying to picture you. First of all, picture you in the tie, but then also too in the corporate world. Yeah,
yeah. It's just what I didn't feel at home. And so I was like, I was at Notre Dame for a 5th year, and so I came back. I was the older guy in the locker room. And I found myself coaching up the younger guys in the locker room and on the field. And I was like, man, when the game's over for me, when I'm done playing, I think I would like to get into coaching just because of that experience of coaching up the younger guys in the program. After I knew my path was going to go into another direction, not playing professional football, going to those interviews and putting on the tie and stuff like that. And I just knew that, if I'm really gonna, make a impact in my life and my family's life and in the lives of others, coaching is it. Coaching was the path I needed to take, and so, and I get to still be a part of the game that I fell in love with, and it's just great, just in a different view,
Yeah, look, I'm gonna sidetrack for a second because I'm just got this vision of you in a tie and going into the corporate world. It's like, so when you go and you've got your resume and you've got Notre Dame on the resume, was there like special attention when you went and you had these interviews?
Man, that name, the Notre Dame.
Yeah.
It's the very first talking point in the interview, and it's such a prestigious college, prestigious institution. It's well respected by a lot of big businesses and big companies. And so it's definitely stands out. And that's what we talk about at the University of Notre Dame. It's not a 4-year decision. It's a 40-year decision, because that Notre Dame degree, will take you a long way. And so I was in those interviews, and it's very impressive to read that on paper.
Yeah.
And they just want to know everything about my time there, what I took from my time there, what I learned, and how I'm going to apply those things into their company.
Yeah. Okay, it's really great you went to Notre Dame, but what is that going to do for us?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then right after that, it's like, okay, so where's the work experience?
Yeah.
And that's another thing for current college football players is find some time in the summer during the off season to get like a side job, get that experience. But what helped me for sure to get into the coaching positions was my experience in playing football. But all of the things that you learn as a football player and being a part of a football team,
Right.
you can apply it into any work, any job title, any company. Communication, time management, working on a team, attention to detail. All those things that we learn playing football, we can apply it in our daily lives and in the workforce.
Yeah, that's the absolute truth. The question I have is, when did you become a student of football to where you were going to coach and coach others? And it's one thing knowing how to play the game, but it's a whole other thing taking your knowledge and then being able to communicate it to others.
Right. And I'm a big note taker. And, when we had all of our team meetings, they would bring guest speakers in. Anytime we had film review, I was writing everything down. And I was like, one day I'm going to have to come back to this stuff. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of the notes and the philosophies that I learned as a player in all of our meetings, I use now as a coach. And so that's something I encourage everyone to do is take notes.
Yeah. It's funny you say that, because Ed, the guy that we had in here last night, and he was talking about, when he was sitting down with John Wooden, and John Wooden be talking and, giving his philosophies, and John Wooden, you're going to frickin' listen. And Ed was saying, I couldn't write fast enough. He took notes on all these people that he has, been around, talked to, that he's gone back to over and over the years.
And that's great that you say that, because early on in my coaching career, I called, in my network, the coaches that have coached me, players that I've played with that are now coaching. I reached out to those guys and just asked for advice. And I think that's what really helped me early on in my coaching career was I wasn't afraid to ask for help. And I think, you can prepare to become a head coach as much as you want to. And then when that opportunity, presents itself, you never feel like you know it all or you're truly ready to be the head coach. But I think in that moment when that opportunity came about for me to be a head coach at Millikan High School, the very first thing I did was I called my high school head coach and I asked him, hey, you got any advice for me? Called one of my buddies that's coaching in college. Hey, could you send me over some of your practice schedule, your scripted practices? And I've just always been that way. I truly believe closed mouths don't get fed.
Yeah.
And if you truly have people in your network that really care about you, they're always willing to help.
Right. Well, I think that also goes back, because you said it earlier when you were talking about Notre Dame, and it's humility. You got to be humble in order to ask.
Right.
Because if you think that you know it all, or you think that you're going to be embarrassed asking a question, and you're never going to learn.
Right. Yeah. And failure, it's not just always making mistakes, but failing to ask for help.
Yeah.
That's what I consider failures. People that are just kind of like, they don't have that humility. To ask.
I was reading something the other day, and they were talking about, you're going to be, if you will be foolish for 5 seconds asking a question, you're foolish for 40 years for never having asked in the first place.
Wow.
It's
awesome.
Yeah, because you have to constantly learn. And I think it goes along the lines too, and this is one of the things that I've watched you as a coach in how you talk to the boys and how you coach, is that you push them outside their comfort zones. And that's a great life lesson. Right. Never feel like you've arrived, ever. And this is like me with this podcast. I'm 68 years old and I got a podcast. 2 years ago I didn't know what the fuck a podcast was. And now, but it's outside of my comfort zone. But you jump in and you start to learn it, and then you start getting better, and all of a sudden, and that's what life is all about. Life is about pushing yourselves beyond what you think you're actually capable of.
Definitely pushing yourselves beyond comfort levels, putting yourself in uncomfortable situations, and that's where you truly can grow. Mm-hmm. That's why we try to make practice as hard as possible for the players, harder than the game, so that come game time, it comes easy to them.
Right.
And so, I truly believe that if you put our players in the most uncomfortable positions, they'll truly grow in their character as a player, and definitely as a player. As a person, for me is seeing the players grow as people.
Right. Well, and that, to kind of get ahead of ourselves right now, because I want to come back to this, but it's also when you are pushing people to grow, young men, young boys to grow, it's because you see something. You see something that they don't. You see their future. You see, the responsibilities that sooner or later they're going to be taking on. You're going to see, the job. You're going to see all the, because at their age, they don't see that yet.
Right.
And they're not supposed to. They're supposed to be thinking, we're running sprints. I just want to go home. I'm hungry. I don't want, that's their mindset, and that's the way it's supposed to be. But as mentors, as men, given the responsibility to guide young people, we're supposed to think further on.
Right. I try to help our players prepare for life after football, to prepare for them to play at the college level as much as I can. I tell them all the time, everything that when I was at your age, I wish I would have known all the things that I know now.
Yeah.
And so I try to give them as much of my experience and knowledge as possible to help set them up for success.
Yeah.
Because, I was their age. I made mistakes. I was that guy trying to skip workouts. I was that guy, coming up short on the sprints and making the team go over again. I did all that. I made those mistakes. And so I know that our kids are going to make those same mistakes too, and they'll respond better when we continue to coach them up, even when they're doing when they're making mistakes and not doing what they're supposed to be. They'll relate better to a coach that doesn't give up on them. And obviously, we want them to figure it out as soon as possible.
Yeah, but
it's not always the case for every single player.
So let's go back now. You're out of Notre Dame. You tried wearing a tie. Didn't really work out. You decide you're going to take a different path. What was your first coaching job?
Yes, so my first coaching job was at Lakewood High School. I went right back to home. I was like, if I'm going to get into coaching, I'm going to go give back to my alma mater. So I went there at the time. Jimmy Nolan was the head coach, and I was just coaching the defensive line and helping out with the special teams. And as soon as the season was over, I was offered a position at Millikan High School, and so that's the reason why I left Lakewood. And so I received a lot of my former teammates were calling and texting me, "What are you doing going over to
of all places,
going to Millikan, our rivals?" And at that time, it was where I was supposed to be. It was where I was called to be, and we had great times there at Millikan.
Right.
I would have never met you. I would have never met my wife now if it wasn't.
That's true. Yeah.
And so I truly believe that's where I was meant to be and called to be at that time. And so, yeah.
How did you feel? How did you feel that day when you first day of practice, first day with all the coaches, and that realization that I'm the dude, I'm the head guy, I'm the head coach, man. This is all me.
Well, for me, I never feel like I'm that dude. I try to, honestly, for me, it was the very first thing I wanted to do was get the team together. Because anytime you lose a coach and there's a new coach coming in, they want to know, who is this guy?
Yeah.
What are you all about?
Right.
So that was the very first thing for me, is I wanted the players to truly get to know who I was outside of coaching.
Right.
And connect with them and build relationships right away. And then second on my priority list was surrounding them with great mentors and great coaches. And so building a support staff and hiring assistant coaches was the next most important thing for me. So, it's a great deal of responsibility as the head coach. But my first year as the head coach, I was the equipment manager. Mm-hmm. I was washing jerseys after games. And so I was out there helping line the football field. I was picking up equipment, taking equipment out. I wanted to do as much and learn about all the different roles that went into it, so that when it comes to hiring a staff, I know exactly what needs to be done, how it should be done, and I wouldn't ask anything out of my assistants that I wouldn't have already done myself or won't do myself. So,
I remember the first day that I met you. And I walked into, it was the classroom that was the football room mm-hmm. at the time, and you were sitting there. And we started talking, and I, about being the strength conditioning coach. And long story short, we got done with our conversation, and we were walking out, and you had some. And I just remember thinking, this is the nicest guy. This is the nicest person. And it shocked me because, to be honest with you, I haven't over the years been real comfortable around a lot of coaches because they take on a different persona than you had. Wow. And that is, they've come across as kind of harsh. They don't have time. We got to rush through this. Well, you need to go talk to, and you were just so nice and so interested in what I had to say, what my background was. I thought that it was just a reverence of an adult coming in and two adults talking, and I appreciated it. But it was only later that I watched you, and you're that way with everybody. You're that way with everybody. You have a very kind soul about you, which I think resonates with the players. That's not to say you can't be tough. That's not to say you can't get harsh, but it's like when you do, there's a purpose behind it. Right. And I think it's kind of like being a dad, and you love on your children, but then when dad gets mad, because they don't want dad mad. They want the loving, fun dad to come back. And I think it's the same kind of thing when I watch you coach. You're just a good, easygoing, kind individual, but you're very serious at the same time about what you're doing.
Yes, it's all about the people. I don't see them, as a player. I see them as a person first. I don't see them as a coach. I see them as a father, as a person first. And I think I was able to learn that early on, just playing football, being raised in the family that I was raised in. My parents taught me, at a young age that, it's, you show respect to your elders.
That's what it was. It was,
and just, being humble. Mm-hmm. Everyone matters. If somebody approaches you, you stop what you're doing and you listen. And so that's my take with the players as well. Is I've had those coaches that just come in and yell and tell you what to do, but they never ask me how my day went.
No.
And so that for me, that's more important. Is I start every single day. Hey, how was your day? How's everybody feeling? You know, and you just never know what somebody's going through. You never know what they're dealing with at home. We all have issues. And one thing for me, my biggest philosophy is there's a lot of coaches out there that have their favorites, their favorite coach, their favorite players. And for me, everyone should be treated as your favorite. Not everyone is going to be that 5-star athlete that's going to get all the praise and can just do it all on the field. They're not going to be a guy that plays a lot of snaps. It's not going to be that coach that just has all the experience and knows it all and is just calls the right. No one is going to call a perfect game, and so everyone brings something unique and different to the table, and that's why I have that philosophy that you treat everyone as they're your favorites.
Right, and that right there is an unusual trait, because I think human nature, we normally are naturally, we just kind of find those people and we want to embrace that.
Right.
And it isn't so much that we're trying not to do anything with the others, but it's almost like a tunnel vision, and everybody else feels it. Everybody else feels that, okay, I'm not as good. And then what happens? They're not going to rise to their level. There's probably a lot of talent left inside them that didn't get brought to the surface. They may not ever be the superstar, but they could be a lot better than what they are. And I think that's the key with you. That's why your teams are successful, because you get the most out of every individual.
Right. And from freshman football all the way to the varsity level, I think it's important as coaches to, I've seen it early in coaching where the varsity coaches don't kind of interact with the freshmen. They just say they're the freshmen. But get involved with the young players in your program. Get involved with the not so gifted, talented players, because they're going to be the difference makers down the road. When it comes down to it, next man in philosophy, a guy goes down, you're going to wish you were coaching up and showing love to that second or third string player, because when that moment comes, you expect them to perform as if they were the first.
Right. And how do you get that out of them? You encourage it. You have to be encouraging to everybody, because if you're not, they're going to go into that game when you need them with self-doubt.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So it's so that brings us to when you are a coach, you're a head coach. Let's talk about how do you pick your coaches?
Yeah, so
because you've been really good at that. I mean, I told you when I first met you first time, I said I don't know crap about football. I mean, I know it, from watching it on TV, and I know the penalties, but I don't know anything about setting up a play. I don't know, pulling guard from anything. I mean, so I'm really. How do you do that? How do you pick such really talented coaches? And because you're getting the most out of them too. It's not like you're just focusing just on the kids and getting the most out of the kids, but you're also getting the most out of your coaches. They know your expectations and they're giving it to you.
Right. For me, it's, everyone, you could get a coach and bring him in the interview and put him on the board. Show me what you know. Let me see your experience. The very first thing I try to do is get to know them as a person and feel, can I sit in a room and have a conversation with you?
Right.
And if we can't just sit and just talk, just talk about life, talk about family and stuff outside of football, then it's just not going to fit for our program. If it's a guy that just comes in and says, hey, look at where I've been, look at what I could do, look at what I've produced, I could get on the board right now and show you, because that's all good, but can I connect with you? Do I see you connecting well with the players? Mm-hmm. And, in our interview, I learned right away that the players in our program would gravitate towards you and the energy you bring, your professionalism. And you could tell right away in our interview that you'd be a great fit for the youth. And
and it showed. I mean, our freshmen, when the way you were able to teach them in the weight room, they learned quickly, and they knew real quick that you were about business and you weren't messing around. But at the same time, it was all for a good reason to teach them how to lift safely. You don't want these guys getting hurt. You see it all the time.
Right.
Kids not learning the proper technique. And so the way you were able to break it down to the basics and the form and technique first before adding on the weight.
Right.
And I think when those players see that you care about their safety and, the professionalism and the way you go about your detail and explaining it, I saw that day one meeting you. And so I think I've just been blessed to be able to read people early on, meeting them. And there have been times where I've interviewed a guy or I've interviewed someone for a position, and I just knew right after that first interview it just wasn't going to be the right fit. And that's okay. Not everyone is going to be the right fit at the right time for the program. And it's funny, later on, down in my coaching career, sometimes I give those guys a call back, because you would hope that, it may not have worked out or been the fit at that time, but, you want to see where their growth is down the road and give them another opportunity and just check in and say, hey, you interviewed back when I was at Millikan, are you still coaching? Where are you at now? Would you be interested? That's one thing that some coaches don't ever consider is the guys you've interviewed in the past. Would you be open to bringing those guys back? Yeah.
I think that what a lot of coaches, I believe, miss is that coaching is a business. If you look at it as a business, you're going to recruit like a business. You're going to recruit your coaches like a business. You're going to interview like a business. And there's nothing wrong with that, because, businesses are set up to win. Businesses are set up to excel and make money. So a business model in a sports program, and I don't know which came first. I don't know if sports were kind of created after the same benchmark as business, or if business was set up on the benchmark of sports. Because in business, you're always hearing the same thing, team. We're a team here. We're a team. We got leadership. You got to listen to such and such. He's the quarterback of this team. And they use a lot of same language in business as they do in sports. So I don't know which one came first. But when you are looking at building a program and you look at it as a business model, it will work.
Right. Yeah. My wife, it's funny. She works for Kaiser. She works remotely, so she works from home. And every morning they have a team huddle, And so, as big as Kaiser is, they have a team huddle every morning to, set the set the agenda for the day, make sure everybody's, on task and has got their work ready for the day. Yeah. And it's the same thing in sports is, we huddle up, we make sure we're all on the same page, and then we got to go out there and execute. Yeah. And if you treat it like a business, like, as the head coach and hiring assistant coaches, you want to hire those guys that you're going to be able to give them a task and they're going to go and execute. And so, that's the hardest part about being a head coach is if there's a coach not pulling their weight or not getting it done, having those uncomfortable meetings with them and saying, hey, maybe this isn't the right fit for you, or that's probably the hardest thing about coaching is if you ever put in a position to let a coach go, right, for whatever reason. That's the business side of it that is not always easy for me.
Well, how do you quantify whether a coach is doing their job or not doing the job? Are you watching the execution of the kids? Are you is it a win-loss? Is it your defense coordinator? They're scoring too many points. What is it that you look for, right, that determines whether or not you feel as they're pulling their weight?
Yes. So are they bringing that if it's a position coach, are they able to bring that group together to play hard for one another? Can they teach the task and the assignment and the techniques, and are they watching their position every single play and coaching them up after every single rep? That's for a position coach. Coordinators, are you having the meetings? Are you scripting practice? How are you teaching the material to the players? And then come game time, did you prepare the defense or the offense or special teams to be as successful in any given situation of the game? That's kind of the things I look at. But the biggest thing for me is how are they connecting with the players? I mean, if the kids just don't want, like, you could tell when a kid just doesn't respect or want to be coached by a certain coach. I've had those coaches too growing up. They were just there to build their resume. They were there just because they loved coaching, but they didn't really want to connect with the players. It was just a stepping stone for them to go to another coaching opportunity. Mm-hmm. And so those are kind of the things I look at, and most importantly, are you able to connect with the players?
Do you think that's an old school mentality? Do you think that younger coaches coming in are looking at it differently? Because when you were just talking about coaches that aren't connecting, took me back to when I was playing sports, when I was in high school. And back then it was brutal. I mean, you didn't get water. I mean, they literally would not give you water. I mean, there was no such. They didn't understand hydration. It's like, and if it didn't matter 2-a-days, it didn't matter if it's 100 degrees out. You're still doing bleachers, and you're still doing sprints, and you're still I mean, it was crazy. Yeah, but there was no thought whatsoever about connecting with the players, except for if you were a superstar. That was the right. difference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw that a lot too growing up, playing for certain coaches. They were just there it just seemed like they were just trying to break you down, and then they didn't build you back up.
No, not at all.
And if you weren't getting it done on the field, they didn't care about you. Just pushed you to the side.
Yeah.
Who can go out there and make a play for me? That I got that a lot early on.
Yeah.
And I told myself I will never be that guy. I'll never be that same coach.
Yeah.
And then it was the coaches who were tough on me, hard on me, but after every practice, they brought us together. And we talked about life, and those are the coaches I was like, if I'm a coach, that's the kind of coach I want to be.
Yeah,
because we played hard for that coach.
Yeah,
when the players know that you care, you'll see them perform and do some miraculous things out there on the football field. It's not so much how much you know. It's not about the X's and O's and where you've been. You went to Notre Dame, but do you care about me?
Right.
And I think. I learned that from my experiences with different coaches, and I appreciate those coaches that were tough on me, hard on me, because again, we can have those relationships and we could be friendly with them and build those relationships, but when it's time to perform and when it's time to get to work out in the weight room and we're practicing, it's a focus. We're locked in. There's expectations that need to be met.
Right.
When that's done, hey, we could chop it up. We could hang out for a little and talk life. So that's what I'm all about.
Yeah, but because I remember back when I was playing football, for example. I mean, I wasn't good.
I think you were I think you were okay.
No, I was not okay. I was 6'2" and weighed about 150 pounds. Couldn't run to get out of my own way. I mean, it was horrible. But playing football was the worst experience of my life because all I was a whipping post. All I was somebody for them to yell at. And it wasn't just me. It was, it was the rest except for a few. But and there was never any praise. There was never, they'd throw you in the pit and you're one-on-one and you would take somebody down quick, get a lucky shot or something. There was no praise. Wow. There was no praise. It was just constantly beating. And that was just the way that it was. I mean, my first head coach was ex-Marine. And we're going back to 1970, 69. I mean, so it's a ways back there. It was just a different mentality back then. So, I understand what you're saying, and my mindset today is build people up. Mine is, these are kids that are out there to have a good time, have fun.
Exactly.
The
game of football should be fun.
Yeah, yeah.
Playing with your brothers and your friends that you grew up with, that should be the best time of your life, and that's the environment I want to have in my program. Is it needs to be fun.
Yeah.
I mean, the players, they play more loose. Early, and I'm not gonna lie. Early on, I used to be, hey, no music before games. We need to be locked in. And then I was like, but why?
Yeah.
I was like, it's okay to listen to music. I'm telling them they can't listen to music, and here I am listening in my earphones, getting ready mentally for the game.
Yeah.
And so, early on, there were some things in coaching that I don't do anymore now. Mm-hmm. And I allow players to listen to what they want to listen to before games. The coaches, we leave the locker room a couple minutes before we walk out on the field to just say, hey, all players, you guys do what you need to do, talk amongst each other, last-minute things you want to talk about, and then we all walk out. And so that's the beauty in the game of football is you're always kind of finding new techniques and coaching tactics, and you're switching up your philosophies and the way you do things every single year.
Well, it's not really being about football.
Mm-hmm.
That's about being a good coach. That's about being a good mentor. That's about being just a good person. I mean, if coaches would get it out of their head that this is a coach job and look at it more, especially at this level, and I don't mean the level, I just mean this age group. Mm-hmm. You have got children in your hands that are, malleable. You can mold them. You can do stuff with them. You go into college, you still can, but it's going to be a little bit tougher job. Now you're dealing with guys that are 20, 21 years old and kind of set in their ways, and they've been coached before. Makes it a whole different program.
Right. That's the beauty in coaching the youth.
Mm-hmm.
Is they're sponges, man. They take everything in, and so that's why we want to always have that positive environment. The coaches, we want them speaking, their love language, speaking life into them, giving them that positive reinforcement. That's all the stuff we want in our program, and I truly believe that leads to success, both on and off the football field.
Oh, absolutely. Especially when you take it really seriously, and that they're. And I hate that, if any of your players are going to listen to this, it's going to be, but let's be honest. I'm the OG, so I get to say whatever I fucking want. But they're children.
Mm-hmm.
You can't. I don't care. A lot of them just got their driver's license. Yeah. It's like you used to tell my twins when they were like 13 years old and they would be talking like they're 20 years old. I go, God, you realize that 7 years ago you weren't even dressing yourself. It's, your children, and they have so much to learn, and they need coaches that they can look up to. That's not even so much respect as much as be in awe of, want to impress. Want to do the right thing for, and
absolutely,
you just
that I think at Lakewood High School right now, currently, we have those coaches.
Mm-hmm.
We have those coaches that can relate to the players, and we went 3-7 last year. It wasn't about the wins and losses,
right.
though. Seeing the players come together and do things outside of football together, going to the movies, spending time at each other's houses, those were the wins we saw as coaches.
Right.
Them overcoming a COVID shutdown, a year where their season was shortened, and for them to come back to in-person learning, all the things they dealt with, having to go to school at home and learn online. We saw those as victories, just them being out there.
Yeah.
And, I think if you kind of just change and shift your mindset and see the wins off the field, it just makes the experience and journey more rewarding as a coach and as a player.
Right. So, you talk about your coaches that you have too. I also noticed I recognize a couple of them. So you've had some guys with you for a while.
Yes, and that's what it's all about is when you're building a staff, you want guys that are there for the right reasons, but also you want guys in your corner that you can trust and that you can lean on and you know they can get the job done. And so I'm fortunate to have guys like Coach Fernando, who was with me at Millikan with us, Coach Dustin Presley, Coach P, Coach Lamp, Damon Lampkin. My wife is our strength coach.
Yeah.
And I when I first got the job, those are the first people I go to is the people in my corner that I know are there for the right intentions and that I can trust.
Yeah. That you know.
Yes.
That you know, knowing them is huge because I know that you develop really good, deep relationships with, a lot of these coaches. You're more than just coaches. You're friends.
We spend time, outside of the office together, and it, just like in any family, you're gonna, have your disagreements.
Oh yeah.
And that's what we want in our staff is we don't always want to agree with what everyone is saying. We want different ideas and people to challenge other people's, philosophies and coaching styles. But we all have to have that same understanding that we're all here for the kids. We're all here for the same common goal, and I'm blessed to have coaches who understand and get that.
Yeah. Now, how does this begin? At the beginning of the season, okay, you've got all your position coaches, and is there an overall plan that you guys discuss, and then they put their plan underneath that plan to build? I mean, how does that all come together?
Oh yeah, so building a staff, you go to your coordinators first. You go to your special teams, offense and defensive coordinators. Then from there, you build out the position coaches. And sometimes when you hire offense or defensive coordinator, they kind of have some of their own connections and buddies that he did a good job with me at this other school. I think he'd be great. So that plays a role into building a staff too. And from there, we sit down and we go over the goals for the team. We talk about what we want to do, the identity we want to have on the field, every phase, special teams, offense, defense. I'll share my input, what I want to see, and it just all works out because we early on when we meet as a staff, we all get on the same page, so the expectation is already set, and we go from there. Now, I've been challenged at times, early on. I'm more of a defensive guy, so offensively, I'm always like, hey, we don't want our defense on the field as much, control the clock. And then I've been challenged with certain coaches who want to get as many plays in. They want to go fast tempo. And so at this point now, with my offensive coordinator, there's a balance. We can go fast. We can slow it down. We can control the clock. And so I think it's important when you're building a staff is early on, you let them know your expectations and standards and the things you want to see on the field, and then be open to learning from them and being flexible. And so now our offense is a combination of tempo, hurry up, huddle, no huddle, all mixed in based on the situation and based on the opponent. And then same thing defensively. We could have 5 down, 4 down. We could run a 4-2-5. We can be your traditional 4-3. We could be in the odd front. But early on, I was only a 4-3, and that was it.
That was it.
Nothing else. I didn't want to hear it. But the game is constantly changing, and that's what I brought up, being flexible. And I think that applies to life too. Things are constantly changing. For me, if I don't want to wake up and go to church on Sunday, I could watch it online. Mm-hmm. Things are changing. So how is my church engaging in the members, and how are they making sure that we're still getting the same word and message on a screen at home?
Right.
And that's the same thing with coaching. Is it's constantly changing. There's new different ways to attack, new different ways to defend, and you see it. I mean, this past weekend was one of the best weekends of football. Games are being won just by special teams. The 49ers They didn't score an offensive touchdown and won the game because they blocked a punt for a touchdown and kicked 2 field goals. It's unbelievable. And
weren't all the games like 3-point games?
Yeah, decided by a few points, and it's crazy the different schemes you're seeing now, and so you have to be open to change and be flexible.
Yeah. So now you've got your coaches. You've got your plan. You know the direction. You've got the coaches. How in the heck do you guys put together teams? And I've got 2 questions with that. One, in today's world, it seems like there are less and less kids wanting to play sports in general, and especially football. Mm-hmm. One. Secondly is it's forever flowing and evolving. Mm-hmm. You're losing a group, bringing new, and so it's constantly changing because they graduate, new coming in, kids that played as a sophomore or a junior decide they don't want to play anymore. So you don't have the same group coming through. How is it at that age group dealing with that?
Well, at the high school level, you have to have a relationship with the young youth and the local Pop Warner programs in your neighborhood. Lakewood High School has the city of Lakewood has a great youth program, the Lakewood Lancers. There's also the Lakewood Longhorns. Building those relationships with those programs to keep the kids in Lakewood from leaving, And how do you do that? You build those relationships with them. You invite them onto your campus, and you host camps and events that are fun and enjoyable, and where they learn. And that's the thing. We want to make sure when they're in front of us, that they're learning as much as possible. And the last thing is creating opportunities for these players, and showing them that no matter where you go, you can be noticed by colleges. I went to Lakewood and I went to the University of Notre Dame. Today, everyone thinks you have to go to a private school to go to a big-time Power 5 program, and that's just not the truth. And I think if we can show parents and their kids that you can have those same opportunities here, and then lastly, trust. Can they trust that coaching staff, the safety of their child? Can they trust them to keep them? Hold them accountable? Can they trust them to be seen by colleges? And I think that's what we do, and that's how you build a program. Mm-hmm.
So let's talk a little bit about parents and parents' expectations.
I love them.
Yeah.
Oh, you gotta love the parents. Early on, they were like, oh, the parents, you gotta watch out for them. And so when I was at Millikan, we were there together. Everyone now as a parent, I get it.
Yeah.
Because everyone wants what's best for their child. They want to make sure that, their child is safe and being taken care of, and they're getting the same opportunities as everyone else. So I get it. And if you don't connect and build a relationship with the parents, you will never be successful. You lose the parents, you lose the kids. Mm-hmm. And, so I love them. I love all our Lakewood parents. Got to.
Yeah. I have just over the years have seen parents that have been exuberant. They think that their son or daughter, there's no gender there, because it could be girl sports, boy sports, it could be combined. It doesn't make any difference. Parents are parents, and they will always look at their child as being more talented, maybe, than what they are. They put a lot of pressure on the kids to rise to certain levels that they may not want to achieve and may not be capable of achieving.
Being honest with the parents, I think that's one thing I learned is you have to just tell them straight up, look,
your son or daughter is just not that player.
Yeah.
You know, they're not going to go Division I, but look, there's Division II, Division III, NAIA. There's other opportunities out there. And if we can kind of get on that same page and then relay that message to the player, so the player's not thinking, hey, why am I? Well, it's Division I or bust. You know, I'm only going to go to a top college. And, you know, you miss opportunities to go and receive a free education at a Division II where, there's more opportunities out there. So just being honest and upfront with the parents and players kind of helps with those
because not everybody's going to get a scholarship.
No.
You know, I mean, it's rare.
And that's why we emphasize that, you know, being a student first, athlete second. Coaching at Azusa Pacific University, I saw how they were able to put together the packages for every player to go basically on a full ride scholarship, and you get more money if you have a higher GPA. You know, you get the academic money based on your grade point average, and then, you know, the athletic department covers, you know, the rest on top of what you get with your financial aid. And so we try to teach the kids early on, you got to take care of business in the classroom as well, because there's not a lot of athletic scholarship money out there to just be given to everybody.
No. You know, I have a friend of mine, and his son, and this is quite a few years back, got a scholarship for basketball to Stanford.
Wow.
But he also got a scholarship academically to Stanford. He took the academic scholarship, so it opened up another scholarship for somebody else. But, I mean, there's a kid that definitely, you know, took care of business.
And college coaches, before they even want to bother looking at a player's film, does he have the grades?
Yeah.
I mean, can we see the transcripts? Because if you don't have the grades, they're just wasting their time on you.
Yeah.
And so that's why we make sure, you know, our kids understand school comes first. You're a student before you're an athlete.
Well, and also too, the world's changed too. They're not going to pull strings to, you know, if you don't have the grades, you don't have the grades now. Right. It used to be that they would manipulate a few things, do, you know, this guy's really a good player and we really need him. Let's, you know, they can't do that any longer.
Right. And all the competition, there's so many great players out there. There's the NCAA transfer portal, where guys are just constantly putting their name in there to transfer out. So now high school athletes are competing against junior college players that are entering this transfer portal. So there's not a lot of room to mess up. So you better make sure your grades are on point. You're doing everything you can in the weight room and the off season to put together the film you want to showcase your talents and abilities to these colleges.
Yeah. You know, that it goes back to what you were saying about the difference between the really, really good players and the guys that actually went into pros. You know, that extra, that little bit extra. And that's really a lesson in life. I don't care where you're at, is if you're not willing to put in the extra hours, if you're not willing, and this could be a job. You want a promotion, you better put in the extra time. You better do some stuff for free. You know, not everything is going to be compensated for.
I agree.
You know, or you're going to, you know, both my boys are in law enforcement, and all they wanted when they were in high school is graduate and go to the academy and be police officers. That was it. Just want to get out of high school and go be a police officer. Well, after about 4 or 5 years, they realized that if I want to promote, I need to get a degree. So now they're in a position where they're working full-time, they're married, and they got a family, but now they got to go to school too. Both of them did it the hard way. Both of them ended up with their master's degree, and my one son ended up being the chief of police, and the other son's a lieutenant. But they paid the price. And so you're going to pay it early on, or you're going to pay it later, or you're just going to flatline in your career.
Oh, yeah, I agree totally with that. And, you know, we tell our players the same thing, you know, do it right or you do it over. take care of business now so you don't have to come back and work double for it.
Yeah, there's all different kinds of ways to say it. My dad used to say the same thing, just in a different manner. You know, he always called me Hoss. You know, and Hoss is worth doing. It's worth doing right. You know, and it's like it rings in the back of my head to this day. Awesome. To this day, you know, I'll be doing something in the garage, and I'm going to cut a corner. And Hoss. Damn it, Dad! Shut up.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So, so let's talk about it. How is it working with your wife?
Amazing.
Yeah.
I'm blessed every single day to be able to go to work with my wife. She does an amazing job with the kids.
Yeah.
And being in a football team in a male-dominant sport, it's refreshing for the players to have a female coach.
Yeah.
And she's able to connect with them a little different than the male coaches. They see her as the mom figure. When she's not in the weight room, they go to her, and she tells me everything.
Yeah. Well, you shouldn't have said that.
and she's always like, man, the players tell me everything. They're so scared to tell you. And I'm like, really? I feel like I'm approachable. But it's good to have her on staff. She does a great job in the weight room. She did bodybuilding. She was a college athlete herself. She played basketball. And so she gets it. She understands if you want to get to that level or you want to have success on the field, it starts in the weight room.
Yeah.
And the same thing for you. You understand that too. And that's why we had great success at Millikan, because it all starts in the weight room.
It does.
I mean, there's no shortcuts. There's no other way to say it. The game is won in the trenches. And people are constantly getting hurt, because they're not in the weight room. They're not doing.
Well, it's a fitness. It's fitness, so that the fourth quarter, you've got a little bit more left in the tank than the opponent, and then it's the strength. And it isn't even just building more strength. It's the determination. Mm-hmm. I mean, when you're sitting there and pick your weight, you could have 200 pounds on the bar in your bench press, and if you don't press it, you're going to get crushed. Mm-hmm. So you better press it. And you do it, and fortunately, you're building strength along the way. Mm-hmm. You learn. But I just remember watching your wife before she was your wife, and she was at Millikan, and how she handled herself in the weight room with the guys. And it did not take long. It did not take long for them to learn to respect her. And she didn't yell about it. I mean, she wasn't a yeller. She wasn't a screamer. She wasn't demanding anything. But she just had that confidence. Mm-hmm. And it just bled out of her. And you just knew. She knew what she was talking about. Mm-hmm. She wasn't going to take your crap. And, this is the way we're going to do it. And you do it.
Yeah, she grew up in a football family. Mm-hmm. Her brother played college football. Her dad was a coach, and so she gets it, what it takes to be a successful football player. The expectations, the standard in the weight room, and then you brought it up. She's confident because she's put in her time and her work. She's very educated. She does her research. She tries to learn more about how the body functions and works. My wife is also a type 1 diabetic, and so she really took on the nutrition side of things and incorporates that into our workouts in the weight room program. Mm-hmm. She gives them the workout, she gives them a nutrition plan, and she's just a great asset to our program, and I'm blessed to be able to work alongside her. Yeah,
she's very impressive, very very impressive, and she absolutely knows what she's doing. It's
she better, or she's gonna get fired.
Oh, I want to watch that.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I know you were. Yeah. How'd that work out for you?
She'll fire me before I can fire her.
Well, if you tried to fire her, I'd be very careful about going home.
I don't think I'd have a home to go to.
Where's Daddy? No, she was great at Millikan, and it was very impressive. And then when I saw that you guys had gotten married and had found out, man, that is a match made.
Yeah,
that was a perfect union.
And we started dating after I left Millikan. So, during our time there, it was all professional. It was all about coaching.
Yeah, that's probably, it was very professional in front of everybody. And, I think you had some vision.
And she came in for an interview. I was like, oh, I already know I'm going to marry her.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I kept a straight face.
Of course you did.
And it was all about what can you do for the boys in the weight room.
Oh man, that's funny. Yeah, but no, she's great. She really is. And I was really glad to see you guys, get married, start your family, and and then working together and coaching together. That's got to be. You're sharing something. And I saw. I think it was on an Instagram thing about being blessed to be able to work with your wife, and that your lives were about mentoring kids. And I thought, you know what? I could read that from a lot of people and just think, yeah, sure, But when I read it and it was with you two, that's absolutely the truth. I know you. I know your character, and that's just, a huge part of you.
Yes, I'm blessed to have her in my corner as my wife, as our strength coach. And we connected easily because we have the same passion and desire to give back to the youth and see them reach their goals. And we started our own nonprofit organization, Lancer Sports Academy, and it's a way that we can give back to the youth on the field, off the field, prepare them. I talked about her setting up them with nutrition plans and meal plans. Mm-hmm. So we established that nonprofit to just further invest in the future of our student athletes.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a little bit, because I've noticed that that's been going on now for a little over a year, hasn't it?
Yes. Yeah, we started it. We shared a.
Sorry, can you just pull that microphone just a little closer to your face?
Right
there? Yeah. Just
right.
pull. You can pull that arm. It'll just pull the whole thing closer to your face. A little bit there.
There you go.
There you go. Yeah. Sorry about that.
Got me.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. I started here. Now I'm back here.
Because up here we're like really tense, and this is gonna be nice. It's going, this is fine.
I was a little tense when you start, and then you kind of like see me. I'm leaning back now. I'm hanging
this
out.
Is pretty easy.
Yeah. Right. No, you're good though.
So we established the nonprofit. It's our way of giving back to the youth, not just on the football field, but working with them off the field and better preparing them and giving the knowledge they need to receive academic and athletic scholarship money, what courses they need to be taking to be prepared for college, to receive that athletic scholarship, and then setting up youth camps and providing resources to our student athletes to just better set them up for success.
Right.
And we share that same vision of giving back. And like I mentioned, we're with the kids at the high school for 2-3 hours, and then they go there. And so that 2-3 hour window, even as coaches, it's just not. We feel like that's not enough. There's more that we can do and more we can give back to the youth, and that's kind of why we wanted to start this nonprofit.
Yeah. So when you started it, was it difficult to get the message out? Did you talk about the beginning of it?
Yes. So, starting the nonprofit, it helps, being at the high school and being around the kids and connecting with their parents and being able to share the message of the nonprofit, because, we open it up to the families at Lakewood first, and we let them know, hey, if your son or daughter needs, more help in this area, we can provide that. We have resources. We're setting up workshops and camps and webinars to help teach and provide knowledge for them to better assist them in their future. And so getting the message out was easy to our players, but beyond just Lakewood football, social media is huge right now.
Right.
And getting them a message out. And so we're building the content and getting our Instagram account, our Facebook and Twitter, accounts rolling, and that helped getting the message out. And so the power of social media
is huge, isn't it?
It's amazing what it can do. And so yeah.
So what does the program offer?
Yes, so we offer nutrition meal plans. We also offer private workouts, position workouts. My wife she also she works with women, a lot of mothers, pre and postpartum, setting them up in to better to assist them in their fitness. We also have a college preparatory class that we teach. And so whether it's on the field, whether it's in the classroom or just in life, we that's how we're able to help and give back.
Mm-hmm. So being a nonprofit, where do the funds come from?
Yeah, we have to fundraise.
Yeah.
That's one of our biggest things is, fundraising, putting together fundraisers, and then reaching out to local businesses, for sponsorships and money, and then applying for grants. Mm-hmm. That's the way we're able to provide the resources and tools to our student athletes and families. It unfortunately costs money. It's not. It's not free. And
yeah.
That's our vision we have, is to be able to set up more bigger camps, to be able to reach greater audiences with our online courses and college preparatory class. Mm-hmm. And it's only possible if we're able to raise the funds.
Mm-hmm. How do people donate to you?
We have a website, lancersportsacademy.com. We're always posting upcoming events and fundraisers, and there's ways you can give back on our website, and donation, and it's all tax deductible. And so, just teaching them about who we are, what we're about, and our goal and our vision, and if they could see that, and if they want to be a part of that, we're happy to take in any donation.
Absolutely, because it all helps.
Yeah. And when we hold these camps, we're always looking for volunteers. When we put together an event, we always reach out to people for help. And so anybody out there that wants to,
you've got my number.
Yeah,
you got my number, Coach. You know how to get me. I'll
Definitely.
come out. Yeah, that's right down my alley. My daughters are the same, and you call. That's the kind of stuff. Helping community, helping kids. That's everything. That's everything. That's where it all starts.
I appreciate that, Coach. You were getting a call from me.
Yeah. yeah. I got a son that'll come along too. So okay. So now let's go to Family Man.
Yes, it's amazing.
Yeah.
There's nothing more rewarding than being a father, being a parent, and no matter how rough a day you had at work, your kids do not care. They want to play with dad.
Yep.
And they want all your attention. So you leave that all outside the door. And it's just amazing how, if you're having a rough day, your kids just brighten up your day and they turn it around. And truly blessed to be able to be a parent. And I truly believe it's the greatest responsibility. Being a parent, and so
it's the most rewarding. And I'm going to tell you this, and this is what I tell, most young dads, is that it's rewarding throughout the growth of the child, because you have all of these little moments that you're just so proud, and it's such a great feeling. It could be at a sport event, it could be at a dance recital, it could be, A's on a report card. It could be you pick it, and throughout time there are always these little things that just make you beam. The true reward, though, is years away. It's when you see your children married, good citizens, responsible, loving parents, raising their children the same as how you did it, because they only know what they saw.
Right.
That's the reward. That's when you pat yourself on the back and go, job well done.
Wow.
That's and it'll come. You just keep doing it. You keep charging. You keep focusing on the little things in life,
Right.
and they add up. There's no one big thing. In my children, people will ask, "What did you do?" Because all 9 of them are good citizens. What did you do? Spent time. That's all it is, man. Spend time. Spend time, and you love. It's like my boys. I have Matt, that's 47. Chris is 43. Ask Brian. I've never shook Brian's hand, ever, but I hug him every single time I see him. And how many times, Brian, when we leave, that we always say, "I love you." Right?
Yeah, just about every time.
Yeah. Unless I'm mad at you.
Then it's, I hate you.
But that's
beautiful.
Yeah, but that's what it is. It's just you constantly show that love of your children, and it pays. It pays.
I agree, and you bring up time. We work, and we're coaches. You're kind of putting in more than 8, 9, 10 hours a day.
Yeah.
That's why I'm blessed to be in the position I am in. I'm down the street from Lakewood High School. I kind of set my own schedule up now, and I'm at the school, but I have all the time in the world to spend with my family and my kids in the morning, after practice.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about. And people ask me all the time, you want to get back into college coaching? Do you want to go that route? And I'm like, right now I'm enjoying the time I have with my family.
Right.
Quality of life is more important than a title of being a college Division I football coach or an NFL coach. And I really like what you said about, that time, spending time and letting them know that you love them, because you don't get that time back. And
No. And it's not even so that you don't get that one day back, but unfortunately, if you're not spending time today, you're probably not spending time tomorrow, and you're not spending time. And next thing you know, you've got a year or whatever, and this is your life, and this is what it is, and the kids are out doing their own thing, and a lot of times you don't know what they're doing. You're never going to get it back. You can never regroup from that. You can never corral them back in.
I agree. And if you're not spending the time with them, who is? And
Exactly.
what are they learning from those people?
Well, and it's like you said, social media is a wonderful thing, but it's also scary as hell.
It is. They have access to so many things that can help them, but also lead them astray. And so just teaching them how to be responsible on social media and in life is something that's a challenge for all parents.
Yeah. Well, it's, our daughters who are the youngest, and that's why I'll always normally bring them up, because Brian, he's a man. He's going to look out for himself on social media. I don't have to. My 17-year-olds, I can still look on Instagram. I can still track where they're at. I can still, and while that may seem like a little overbearing in today's world, I want to know where they're at.
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah, I want to know where they're at. I want to know what they're doing. I want to know that they're safe. I want to know, hey, this is inappropriate. Take this down. You're not posting this thing.
I have players on our team. They're like, "Oh, I don't let my parents follow me. I have them blocked." And I'm like, "Whoa.
Oh.
When you're a parent one day, you're gonna wish you could follow your son or daughter and know exactly what they're up to, what they're posting, what they're liking."
Yeah.
And as coaches, that we teach our players, you need to be responsible on social media, because it's your resume. What you're posting, what you're liking, who you're following, all those things. The colleges are seeing, and your employer, they're looking at, they're doing their background checks and looking at your news feed and what you're posting on your timeline. And so even on something like Twitter, like some young players don't know, something you like pops up on your timeline. Even if you didn't post it, even if you didn't retweet it,
right.
It still is a reflection of you. And that could be the make or break for a scholarship offer. I see a ton of kids get their scholarships revoked or pulled because of something they liked on Twitter.
Right. In jobs, there's so many jobs that are reliant on background checks. You do something wrong on social media, it's going to pop up. They're going to see it. They're going to know it.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, but going back to being a parent is, just the most amazing, rewarding thing. I mean, and I have spanned generations of being parents. And when I've got 47-year-olds that are my kids and 17-year-olds, I mean, there's 40 years of raising children.
Well, you've done a tremendous job. All your children, great citizens. That's the goal for me and my wife is we want to leave that legacy and pass down the discipline and respect that we were brought up in our households and the things our parents taught us. We want to continue to pass that legacy down. And I'm enjoying every single moment of being a father, and wouldn't trade it for anything in the world.
No, it is just amazing. It is just amazing. Well, buddy, this has been freaking awesome time, man. I mean, we have covered everything, all the way down to being parents, I mean, it is it's been fun for me watching you over the last few years from a distance. I always tell people I'm like a voyeur, with social media. You may not talk, you may not see, but oh my God, look what they did. How's Lakewood doing? That's and to know about the nonprofit, is great. You really have the kids' best interest at heart. That is, that's truly amazing.
I appreciate it. I appreciate you having me, Mike. And we could talk all night long. It seems. I mean,
yeah. It's just like we just never stopped, never missed a beat.
Yeah.
I do miss. I got to say, I do miss that part of coaching at Millikan and hanging out with you guys. And
well, I mean, I know you got your podcast thing going on, and I'll say it on camera. There's always a spot for you on any of my teams and in our coaching staff. I think you bring something to the table that's unique and different from any of the other coaches. And so, if your wife will allow it, you're always welcome, at whatever capacity it may be. We would love to have you at Lakewood as well. And so, that's something to think about, Coach.
Something to think about. I'm not sure what position I would fill, since I don't know crap about football. But I can hold the ball.
No, yeah, Coach, you can help out anywhere on the field. You can help out in the weight room again. But you're a good person, and that's what matters. To me. As the leader of Lakewood football, is I want to surround our players with good people and good mentors and father figures like yourself. And so the door is always open for you.
Hey, just as long as I can always show up to a game and get on the field with you. That's plenty.
You got season passes, field passes for the whole year.
It's been great. I'll tell you one thing that I really missed the most about coaching when I was at Millikan is being in Target, or Stater Brother, or Rite Aid, or just pumping some gas, and all of a sudden you hear, Coach Mike. Awesome. It was awesome. Yeah.
And seeing the kids grow up, they graduate, and then you see them working, or you run into them at the gas station, and it's great to just see them and see who they're becoming. And
it's
awesome.
Yeah, just watching the growth on them. So, anyways, buddy, thank you so much. This has been really a great evening.
Had a great time.
We're going to have to do this again. And
coffee was amazing too.
Yeah, well, hey, police coffee. It's great. Yeah.
There's the plug.
Yeah, there's the plug. Police coffee. Yeah, policecoffee.com. Mike.podcast. 10%.